The biggest problem in live audio is always people. Gear can be temperamental, but I've never felt belittled by a mixer when it glitches out. Live sound is a job that we should love, but some people just love to make it suck. So here's the 3 toxic behaviours that you need to look out for if you work in live audio. Dickhead move number 1, passive-aggressive behaviour. One time I was rigging up for an event and there was a guy in who was doing sound for the streaming of the event and he needed a feed from the mixer. So obviously I got him a feed from the mixer. I was nice and I put a little bit of white tape on the ends of the cables. One said left, one said right. I think that's a pretty nice thing to do. This guy scoffed and was like, you can just tie a knot in the cable. And I'm like, okay, my thought is, well, I can't read your mind that you would rather have a cable that has a knot in it than a nice little bit of tape that says left or right. I mean, can you not read left and right? Anyway, there's 3 reasons why this is an uncool thing to do. It creates a bad atmosphere, and no one works well when there's a bad atmosphere at work. If there's any tension between any people, it usually rises to the surface and everyone feels a bit bad about it. How can I focus on mixing a gig when I know that the guy who's standing right beside me is up on his high horse thinking that he's got one up on me? It's totally distracting, it's a terrible vibe. Second off, it also ruins confidence, not just in the people that it is said to, but all the people around about you. If people are getting chastised for doing something which is objectively looks like it's the right and logical thing to do, but they're being chastised for not doing it the way that one person likes to do it, then they can hesitate and think twice about how they do things. You're laying a cable run out to a microphone and you think, oh no, did I start with the correct end of the cable? I know that this other guy always starts at the microphone end, but now I'm at the stage box. I should stop. Oh, but if I go over to the microphone and start there, then I have to go that way anyway, so why not just plug into the stage box and go over there? These kind of people are just there to make you feel bad and make themselves feel better. And the third point is that it distracts from the job that you're doing. You're not there to give commentary on how other people work. You're there to get a job done. If you ask for a stereo line and you are delivered a stereo line, good, done. You don't need to be like, oh, I don't actually like the way that you delivered that stereo line. I want it a different way. Do you know what? You work together for one day and then you part ways. Keep your mouth shut. Dickhead behaviour number 2 is being deflective and blame shifting. I was working on a theatre show and a couple of things went wrong. The first thing that went wrong was there was a little bit of feedback from a headset microphone when an actor walked by the monitor. Now, after it happened, I said, I could have reacted quicker to that. I saw that they were going a bit closer to the monitor than they did in rehearsals. I should have just muted the microphone in that moment as they walked by the monitor. I didn't. There was a little bit of feedback. I like to take that on board and think that I can grow and get better. But the touring tech who was working with that day was like, nah, it's not your fault. It's the actor's fault. They should have stood where they stood in the rehearsal. And I'm like, that's not their problem, right? Like, I'm in charge of the sound. Yes, they can work with me, but like, I want to take responsibility for my mistakes. And I don't want someone else being like, nah, screw them. And the second thing that happened in that show was that there was a sound cue, which thankfully I was not playing off, but the show operator was playing off the sound cue, and then no sound came out. And there was a very awkward 20 seconds or so where there was no sound and we had to fix it. And we looked at it, we were using QLab, and it just turned out that the volume in the cue was turned down, right? But then the person I was working with started blaming the computer, like, oh, these machines, they're glitching out, they're doing all of that, even though we were editing that cue right before the rehearsals ended that day. In my eyes, you should just say, the cue was turned down. I should have checked before the show started that all the sound cues were working fine. But those were not the only 2 things, and it builds up this atmosphere of like, it's not my problem, I can do no wrong, I shan't improve, it's everyone else's fault. It's bad for 3 reasons. It reduces the quality of the production that you're working in. When you're in a working environment where people don't take responsibilities for their actions, the same problems can occur again and again and they never get addressed. And basically you just end up being part of a subpar team. No one wants to be part of a subpar team. Second problem with it is it like hinders your growth. It doesn't let you become better as a person. If you don't acknowledge your mistakes, you can't get better. Why are we not all shooting for the perfect show and saying, I can make this perfect show happen. I just need to overcome all of the little problems. And over time, I will build up a bank of experience, which means that I know to check all of these things. If you say it wasn't my fault, how are you going to remember to check for it next time? And the third thing, of course, is that it just creates a negative environment. When people are complaining and shifting blame elsewhere, it's just a bad vibe. Versus like, oh, I'm really, really sorry, I need to try harder next time. Like, you know, as soon as you take the blame, someone else is less likely to shift the blame on you. You say, it's my fault, I'm really, really sorry, I won't mess up again. They say, that's okay, it's not a big deal, look, it happens. But if you start saying, no, it was them, they start saying, look, we need to own up to our mistakes and make this production better. So don't deflect things and don't shift blame to other people. Take responsibility for your actions. And even if it wasn't your actions, see what you could have done to prevent it and think about that. If you're enjoying this so far, please consider subscribing to the channel. I love sharing my experiences with you, and I've got loads of great tutorials on how to be a better live sound engineer. Third dickhead move is being rigid and unwilling to adapt. Maybe that's easy for me to say because I'm fairly young in comparison to some people still in the industry, but I was working with a touring engineer who connected up a Midas Pro mixer, and it was running on AES 50 because that's what Midas Pro mixers run on. And if you know anything about the Pro mixers, you have to configure which stage box is connected to which port on the back of the Pro mixer. You have to do that inside the software on the mixer itself, right? And say you've got two outputs and both of them go into a DL251 stage box. If the wires are crossed and 1 goes to 2 and 2 goes to 1, then the mixer won't work properly and it'll flag it up and it'll highlight it in red and say there's a connection problem. However, if you look on the back of the mixer, it will still light up green. And the green light indicates that there is a connection between the mixer and the stage box successfully. It does not imply that it is configured correctly in the mixer. And I talked to this guy for like 15 minutes as he denied that it was the problem. He said, no, it's not right. Green light means it's connected. And he was steadfast that that's not how it works. And I tried to tell him that this happened to me like 2 weeks ago. And I spent 5-10 minutes trying to figure it out and then I found out what it was. So trust me, he wouldn't trust me. And we spent another 15-20 minutes just messing around until eventually I said, can you humor me? And I switched them and it worked. And all he did was say, it's not right. There's something wrong with the mixer. There's something wrong with the mixer and the stage box. This shouldn't happen. And it's like, that doesn't matter. What matters is that this guy was unwilling to hear me out, try my solutions and be part of a team. He was like, I know best. It always works this way. So shut up, basically. Why is this bad? As point one, it limits your ability to problem solve, right? Because two brains problem solving, if they follow a process, should be able to get through it quicker. You should tap into someone's experience and say, oh, this worked, maybe we should try that. So if you're not willing to adapt and try new solutions, then you're going to spend ages problem solving when you could spend 2 minutes problem solving. The second point is, again, it creates friction within the team because you're standing there going, oh, I have a suggestion, and they're saying, no, not interested, don't want to hear your suggestion, I know best. Who wants to work in that environment? That environment sucks. And then the third reason this is bad, similar to the last point, it just makes mistakes repeatable. If that guy goes away saying it was a bad mixer, it was a bad stage box, it was nothing to do with how he patched it, how can he improve? You know, when that problem happens again, will he remember that it's just his patching that was wrong? Or will he say, oh my God, another mixer broken? Or is he just going to spend another 20 minutes trying to problem solve it when he actually already knows the solution? Having good people skills, team spirit, being willing to adapt and admit your own mistakes and learn from them, those are 4 things that you need to have if you want to be great at anything. And the same thing is in live sound. It's a great career. Why do some people make it suck? So think about it. Do you do stuff like this? If you do, please stop. Or do you know people like this? Leave a comment, let me know about your situations where you've been working with people that just make the fun things suck. I'll leave a video up here to another terrible day I had at work if you want to revel in my misery. Until next time, goodbye.